Hello YouTube, how y'all doing? Today we're going to talk about magazines for a little bit. Yes, magazines, not clips, magazines. Or actually more specifically, about keeping your magazines loaded for an extended period of time. This is actually something I know a little bit about. Springs, all magazines have springs, jumping ahead of myself. But the springs in these are what concerns everybody. Well, I was a mechanical engineer for years before I decided to change professions. Took early retirement. But anyway, I've done machining and design work and all the rest of it. For a while, I was working on a project that had to do with springs. And as you may or may not know, springs have memory. That's what makes them work. They're coiled up inside here, and they like to stay coiled. That's their memory. And that's what makes them work when they get compressed and they push back up. I know a lot of people say it's don't leave them loaded, or you can leave them loaded, or whatever. Springs, the memory in the spring, it will if you leave this loaded long enough, the spring will create a new memory, and that memory will be that the spring wants to stay compressed. It will never stay as compressed as it is now down here in the bottom, but it will be shorter, and the magazines won't work as well as they used to. Same as your car. If you really notice it if you have a large four-wheel drive vehicle, maybe a lift kit on it or something, after you put 50, 80,000 miles on that vehicle, it starts to settle, and it'll lose an half inch or an inch in ride height because the springs wear, just like these do. It is better to leave them loaded and not mess with them. They will create a new memory or wear out faster by loading and unloading it and repetitive use, because the spring constantly being compressed and going back out and compressed will wear it out faster. But just leaving it loaded like this, eventually, I don't know how long, 20 years, 10 years, 3 years, probably not 3, it's probably more going to be in the 15 to 20 year range, but they still will not function like they were when they were new. What I do is I keep my magazines unloaded. All these are Gen 3 PMags, which I actually really like these magazines. I think everybody else does too. None of these are loaded. These are the ones that I use. About half are what I use, the other half are new. I just put them aside for when I need them, because you never know when you might not be able to buy these things again. I have more than this. I just throw a handful of them out here for the video. These are metal mags. Makes no difference if they're the P mags or the metal ones. These are for my Mini 14, 20 rounders, 30s. These are hex mags. Got a really good deal on these. I do not work for the company. I know no one that does, but Mag Warehouse has really good deals that pop up every now and then on their magazines, and when they do, I stock up on them for those days when we might not be able to get our 30 round or 20 round and we're stuck with 10 or 5 or whatever the government might think that is safe for us to use at that time. But anyway, back to keeping them loaded. I got 2 mags. They just stay loaded. They stay in the secure location where my firearms are, and these are the ones that I have set aside in case it hits the fan or the zombies attack. I know a lot of people keep a lot more of them loaded than this. They think 2 is not enough, or other people think 1's enough. I'm comfortable with 2. But back to the spring. This is a true story that happened to me a while back. I had my Colt 1911 with the factory magazine. When I bought the Colt, I got some Wilson Combat mags. They ordered them for me. It took them a week or 2 to get in. So I used the original mag that came with the Colt. It worked fine. I just didn't prefer the factory magazine. I didn't think it was a high quality magazine, but it did work good. When the PMags came in, I threw the factory Colt in my range bag. Well, this happened when the Colt Defender first came out, which I believe was maybe the mid-90s. It sat in my range bag loaded ever since then. I bought the gun I believe, the first 2 or 3 months that it came onto the market. And then after a couple weeks, it got tossed in the range bag. Well, just about a year and a half ago, I was going through my stuff and I found that original Colt magazine. And it was loaded with 45s, topped off, to see how it works. Good experiment. It's been over 20 years that it's been sitting in my range bag loaded. I just forgot about it because I've been using the Wilson Combats, which have been flawless, by the way. The factory Colt mag, not so much. After about a dozen times of using it, I could not get it to function a whole mag out of the 10 to 12 to 15 times that I used that mag. It jammed at least once, most of the time 2 or 3 times. So I am pretty confident that a Colt 45 magazine cannot stay loaded for 20 years and still function correctly, because that one didn't. Or maybe it was that mag and I was a lucky person to get the flawed one. But it did work fine the first 2 weeks I had it when I used it, and probably ran 50 to 100 rounds through it until I got my Wilsons in. But anyway, just something to think about. If you're keeping your magazines loaded, they're probably not going to function as well as they should after an extended period of time. Buy quality magazines. I know there's a lot of them out there, and they probably are quality. I'm not willing to spend the money to buy a whole bunch of magazines and see which are better and which worse. On that, I'm just taking people's word for it. The P-Mags have worked great for me. They came factory with my Ruger. They come factory with some other ARs. I haven't really seen too many bad, if any, bad reviews on them. The P-Mags were about the same. I've seen a lot of good reviews, and I got these at a really good deal when I picked them up. Actually, I picked up a whole bunch of them. I haven't even opened yet. So when there's a good deal on something, I just stock up on it. But anyway, hope this video helps you. Hope you can get a little bit of knowledge out of it. That's my little buddy right there. And please leave some comments. Thank you all very much. Happy shooting, safe shooting, and God bless.